Welcome back to the Slow Living Era podcast. I'm your host, Maggie. Today, we're going to be answering the question, will my kids be okay if we make a big change?
I'm Maggie Schneider, and this is the Slow Living Era podcast, a podcast about starting over, slowing down, and building a life that fits you through motherhood, big moves, and everything in between. Let's jump into today's episode.
So by far, one of the most common questions I have got from my followers on Instagram who've been following our journey of moving from Maryland to Florida is, will my kids be okay? Like, how are you considering your kids in this move? How are they handling all of the transitions? What are your tips for that? And honestly, my answer might be a little bit underwhelming. So we're going to get into that, how exactly my kids are doing, what I did to prepare them for this move, and what I am looking forward to. So I'll just come right out and say it. My kids are doing great. They honestly have not missed a beat. They are, for reference, my son is 6, my daughter is 4, and then I have another son who is 2. He just turned 2 right before we moved out of our Maryland house. So they are busy. They are young, so it's not like they were in middle school or high school or something and we were, ripping them away from all of their friends that they've been friends with their whole lives or anything like that. So I think that was a big help for this transition going so well. And there's a few other factors that I think played a role as well. My kids, like I said, have not missed a beat. They are just happy to be here with us. I think I said last week on the podcast that it felt like they thought that we were on vacation. I don't think that anymore. I think they realize that this is their routine. This is where we live. They call this home. My son, actually, we walked in the house the other day and he said, "Mom, this Florida house is my favorite house ever." And that just made me smile so big. I was so happy he said that. He says little random quirky things like that just to get a response from me sometimes, but I really felt like he was genuine about it. I think the kids are loving the house. I think they love having their own rooms. So our old house, my 2 oldest kids were sharing a room for a while, and then it ended up being that my daughter ended up sharing a room with me for way too long, almost the entire school year last year, just because she has different sleep needs than her brother, so she was sleeping with me for a while. So I think the kids are loving having their own rooms. My daughter especially has been having fun. She's been coming shopping with us, so we picked out her curtains together, her wall decor together. She's had a say in the dresser, and I showed her pictures when I found it on Facebook Marketplace. So she is definitely the creative one, so I think she is definitely loving having a say in her room decor, and there's still a ton to be done. The boys, they don't really care about their room decor. My son, he does want a bunk bed that has a slide on it. I don't think I'm going to get it for him. I kind of told him I would before we left Maryland, but I think he might grow out of that a little quickly, so I'm not super set on getting that for him, but I am open to him, choosing whatever decor items he wants if he cares. I don't know if he cares. So anyway, back to how they are doing. Emotionally, great. I think kids take a lot of their emotional cues from us as adults, and the things that we did to prepare them for this move. So we started talking about it probably too early. In hindsight, we could have waited a little bit. But back in January, when we actually first decided, hey, we're doing this, we brought it up to them just to get a feel for what their reaction was going to be and how we were going to need to address it going forward. We said, hey guys, what do you think about us moving to Florida? Remember we just visited? We'll be at Dee Dee and Coach's house. We'll be able to see their grandparents a lot, go to their pool. We'll have a pool of our own in our neighborhood. It'll be sunshine and warm weather all the time. And the kids were just yeah, sounds good. That's exciting. And then from basically January on, it's July now, they would not stop talking about it. That's why I said it was, in hindsight, maybe we should have waited a little bit, because it was the countdown was on for them. And we kept saying a couple more months, and kids don't know what that means at this age. So a couple more weeks, a couple more months, a couple more days, whatever. And we had to kind of tell them the process. We probably went through the process several different times to say, hey, we have to wait to sell our Maryland house. Then there's going to be a couple weeks where we're not going to have a house of our own. We're going to go stay with some family. Then our house will be ready in Florida, and then we can move there. And again, we're not going to move in right away when we get to Florida. We're going to be unpacking. It's not going to be like an instant thing where we're back at home and everything feels the same. So we went through all of these steps with them in detail multiple times, and I do think that helped. Like, we didn't treat it as a scary thing, or like, we weren't like super anxious around them throughout this whole process. I think my husband and I have been very like level-headed about it. We've been excited for sure, but maybe 5% nervous of like, oh my gosh, is this the right decision? But we never ever said anything like that around the kids. We just made it feel like something exciting and something that like, hey, we're doing this as a family, and we feel really confident about it. And I think that helps. I don't think kids need like certainty of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to live here forever and this is my life and for the next 18 years, when they're 6 years old, they're not thinking about 8 years down the road or whatever that looks like. They are just happy to be with their parents, who, as long as their parents are secure, I think they do all right with that. So that helped a lot.
If you're a business owner trying to figure out your marketing while also managing, everything else, Hilltop Help is my business where I help you simplify that. Think SEO, website strategy, and sustainable marketing that actually works long-term to bring you clients. I'll link it in the show notes if you want to check it out.
I think sometimes we underestimate how resilient kids are and then overestimate how much they need everything to stay the same. So I will say that as long as they stick with the same people they are familiar with, then things typically go okay. And I saw this definitely in my nursing career as well. Worked a lot in pediatrics, both inpatient and outpatient. And it was like, as long as their like main caregiver was with them, the kids felt okay. Like, even though they were going through surgeries and procedures and like lab draws and really scary things, the kids just kind of look at their parents and they say like, is this okay? Is this normal? And if the parents are cool, calm, collected about it, even though they're probably freaking out inside because their child's in the hospital, the kid responds to that and responds well if the parent's responding well. So if you are planning a big move, I would say, even if you're super nervous about it, whether it's in your control or out of your control, maybe you're in the military and you don't have a say in where you're going, or maybe you're moving for a job and you're not super thrilled about it, I will say, do your best to put on a brave face for your kids. Act confident whether you are or not. I think fake it till you make it is a real thing. And that goes with this transition process with your kids as well. So the second thing that helped our kids feel like secure and confident with this move is that we pretty much kept their routine the same. So my stepmom actually pointed this out. My stepmom and dad just stayed here for about 5 days. They just left yesterday. And when they left, they were like, man, the kids like haven't missed a beat. I love the like schedule that you have them on. It seems like they're really comfortable with the schedule that you have. Like, how did you get it set up so quickly? And the truth is, we've been doing this for years. Like, I have been home with my kids since my daughter was born. Before that, I was even just working part-time as a nurse, so I was still mostly home with them. Some of those were night shifts too. So we have this routine established, even though they were in school for a little bit last year. The routine when they were off school or on the weekends or for holidays or summer break, the routine is we wake up, we have breakfast, we get out of the house and we do something, whether that's running errands, going to the grocery store, going somewhere fun like a playground or the library, really just getting somewhere out of the house to like get our day started and like get something, quote unquote productive done, even if it's just playing somewhere new. So with that, we kept our routine the same when we moved here as well. Like, we kept going out. Whether for us lately, it's been going to Home Depot, going to Home Goods, going to Target, getting all the things that we need for the house. And the kids think that's fun. We used to go to Target in Maryland all the time just to like look in the toy aisle and spend an hour there. So for them, that's fun. And now it's like a little bit more purposeful because we do have things we need to buy for the house. And that part has been, a little bit dodgy with my oldest. He's like, no, we're here to look at toys. And I'm like, no, we do have to, I need some things from Target. We have to get some things here. So, whatever with that. But we do, keep that routine in place. They are sleeping in different places, but they are going to sleep at the same time every night. That bedtime routine didn't change throughout the process of moving. We always like kind of rotate, like we're reading first, then I go and lay with one kid, my husband goes and lays with another kid, and then kind of switch and say goodnight. So all of those little routines have stayed in place. And I think the more you keep that routine the same as you're in this transition period, the better your kids are going to be. Even if your kids are, 13. I don't have a 13-year-old yet, of course, I can't speak to that exactly, but kids thrive on routine. Adults thrive on routine, right? Everyone thrives on routine. So keeping those things, flexible but familiar is going to be a good payoff for you. The kids, like I said, they kind of thought we were on vacation. Every day was like, can we go to the pool? Can we go to the beach? And we've pretty much been in water almost every day that we've been here. I think 1 or 2 days we haven't. But yeah, they wake up, they're excited to be here. They're happy. They love that the weather is consistent, even though it's consistently hot. Like, we're still outside and able to like do fun things that they enjoy. I think this routine is just incredibly reassuring for them, but it is for us as well, because we know what every day is going to look like. We keep that routine in place. So that is my biggest pieces of advice, is definitely keep the routine as consistent as possible. Even if you have to adapt and change your routine in your new place, keep it consistent day to day as best you can. And so the third point I want to talk through is what they have actually missed and what they haven't. And this is just me observing. I haven't like interviewed them for this episode or anything, but things have come up, right? So things that they've barely mentioned at all is like the old house, their old bedrooms, those material things. They could not care less about the toys that I donated 4 months ago. They have not thought about it, not asked me about it, nothing like that. They do bring up certain friends from their school. They say, when can so-and-so come over to our house? And I say, oh, honey, it's not as simple as them just like showing up and me texting them. Like, it is a trip for them now because they're back in Maryland. That doesn't mean that we can't ever see them again, but it's just not as quick and spontaneous as it used to be. They bring up, their friends, their family, certain grandparents, things like that. They have brought up some of their favorite places. So my son, for example, the other day, I think there was a commercial on TV for Chuck E. Cheese, and we went to Chuck E. Cheese like the week before we moved out of our house, and he was like, is there a Chuck E. Cheese in Florida? And I Googled it, and there sure is. There's many Chuck E. Cheeses in Florida. So I'm like, hey, bud, yeah, we can go to Chuck E. Cheese one day. It might be a little different than the one that we went to before at home, but we can go there, no problem. There was no like big emotions around those kinds of things. I think the hardest part is seeing them like bring up their friends, because I know they are going to miss them. But they're so young too that it's like, how can we, if I don't put the effort in, are they going to be able to maintain these friendships? I don't know. Probably not, to be honest. We do have one friend from their preschool who might end up moving to Florida a little bit south of where we are in the next couple of years. So I'm hopeful that we'll at least be able to keep in touch with them. They did FaceTime their preschool friend the other day, and it was the sweetest thing. My son was like ear to ear. I've never seen him smile so big. And they were talking for 30 minutes. I don't know what they were talking about. It was a lot of like gibberish and like, let me show you this, let me show you that. Like, not obviously like real in-depth conversations because they're 6 years old, but it was just really cute and like gave me some hope that like, okay, if we even do this like once a month, they will still maintain that relationship and be able to like connect and talk when we do eventually meet up again. And I'll be back. We'll be taking the kids back to Maryland at least once a year, I am guessing. Thinking we'll go up there in the summertime for a week or two and like see all our friends, just like spend an extended amount of time up there so that we can touch base with everyone and see everyone that we've been missing. That's definitely been the hardest part, like I said, is seeing them kind of sad about missing their friends. But so just to summarize, like before you move, try to maintain your own composure as you talk about it with your kids, and be prepared that you will have to mention the same things over and over again, because kids need to hear things on repeat, at least if they're the age that my kids are. They don't have that super abstract way of thinking yet, so being just super literal and simple will go a long way for you guys. I have gotten the question too of like, are they making new friends? Like, what does that look like for us, especially because we're going to homeschool? That is probably the thing that I'm most nervous about right now, is I just like I like having a lot of friends nearby and like options to choose from of like, hey, this friend's busy. Let me text this friend and let's see if we can meet up at the beach later or something like that. So that's kind of my next hurdle and my challenge is figuring out like how can we get them involved, whether it's a co-op of some sort or some sort of hybrid learning option. We're looking into those. We only have like a month to decide, but I am attending a few Q&A sessions next week for some places nearby. One is like a Catholic school, which I'm excited about. I'm hoping that like some places still have openings. I think when we first moved here, I was like intending to 100% homeschool them, but I do, now that we're here, feel the need to like, okay, they need some friends and like a little bit more interaction. They are still interacting with people all the time. We see our neighbors like all the time now, who are the same ages, which is great. And I'm sure we'll meet more neighbors as more people start to move in. But yeah, I would just like something a little more consistent where they can like really build those strong friendships and see, you know, what their mutual interests are with other people and things like that. And then of course it helps me out because I am trying to work, and working has been very, very hard the last couple of weeks without having like no babysitting help or no, you know, school to lean on, anything like that. So that's kind of my next challenge. I will keep you guys up to date on that and what homeschooling, all of that looks like. If you are planning on homeschooling, I know a lot of people that move to Florida, that is a big determining factor for them, and it definitely was something we considered as well. There's just a lot of homeschooling benefits here, and I'm excited to like utilize them fully. So are there going to be unexpected emotions during a big transition like this? Absolutely. But I think the fake it till you make it absolutely works. It doesn't need to be some big traumatic experience for your kids. If you can show your kids the benefits of moving, the confidence that you have in your decision, that will go such a long way. I think a little bit of struggle is good for kids. That helps them build grit and determination and confidence in themselves. And then it shows them that they can adapt to new situations, which is so, so important as a life skill. I know many adults who do not have that life skill, and it hurts them. So you can miss people, you can still thrive. So yeah, sometimes the biggest obstacle to making a change isn't like our kids. I think we put a lot of pressure on that of like, how are my kids going to react to this situation? But it's really our own fear and how we are handling the situation that makes the biggest difference. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you loved it, I would love for you to share it with a friend, share it with someone who might be considering a big move like this or going through a life pivot. I'm here for you in the DMs on Instagram at Maggie's Slow Living. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thanks so much.
For more resources, links from today's episode, or information about working with me, you can head to maggieslowliving.com. And as always, thank you for spending part of your day with me. I'll see you back here next week for another episode of the Slow Living Era podcast.